acid never hurt the situation. Right?
Yeah, it's just a little lemon juice.
Yeah.
A little acidic lemon juice.
Yeah. It does make for strange days. No matter how minuscule an amount I take, it engages me. It pulls me into a world of hyper reflection or something.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not completely distracting myself.
The waters become a little deeper.
Yeah, almost too deep. Like we spent the week in New York City. We were scouting for a project, and I was like, let's do some of this on acid. I mean, it'll keep my head in the game for longer. Ooh-wee. Oh my Lord, baby.
Things can just feel a little spinny, I think.
It's literally just, it's existential. It's like, I think I'm already, you've been with me for a long time. I'm an empath. Yeah, I think everyone is.
Yeah, but some people are a little bit more affected by other people.
I'm affected by other people's energies.
Mm-hmm.
Really big time, and I take it on. And yeah, driving around, like we're driving around all of New York City scouting for this thing. So like we're down in Red Hook and Dumbo and Bushwick and Bed-Stuy and Williamsburg, and then going across into Chinatown and the financial district and Hell's Kitchen and Times Square and Tompkins Square Park and the Lower East Side, and we're really doing it. And the whole day I'm just like taking deep breaths. Like it's just crazy. It just engages this, like, what is everyone doing? How is anyone doing this? Because I know the rent prices in New York City. How is anyone doing this? Why is anyone doing this? And like to the point where you're just like, we pull up to a place and I'll just like look at one person and I'll just be like, damn, like that's a life. That's like somebody going through shit. Like this sounds like so far out, but like,
I mean, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It's weird. You had like, thank God that we usually don't occupy the same headspace at the same time. Like we're like left brain, right brain. You're like, wow, how fun is this? Our life is the best, this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, but what about that guy? Type of energy, like what is that guy doing? Like he's working for a moving company, and like where does he live? And like I just like I get into this, like, what is anyone doing? Like what are we all just spinning our wheels? Like,
yeah. It's one thing to like know you're spinning your wheels, and then it's another thing to feel the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
It's one thing to know that time goes by, and it's another thing to feel time going by.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying nothing, but exactly, you understand. It's when you feel it, you know what I mean,
I definitely do. I've been experiencing it, and maybe that's what this medicine does to me. It just pops me much more. We already live our life in like a documentarian headspace, an observer, like voyeur headspace. It just pops me really far into that. Any suggestion of this medicine, even if we talk about taking it, I start going there. So it's got a powerful hold on me. I keep taking it because it's fun, and it makes music sound great, and it just, I don't know, it engages a level of thoughtfulness in me that I think when I have to work is too much. Like we went into Tompkins Square Park, and like we're all of a sudden we're like face to face with the migrant crisis. Like I forgot about it. It's so easy to keep yourself like distracted and out of it. Next thing you know, you're in Tompkins Square Park and you're like, who are all these black dudes? Like what is going on? Like dozens upon dozens of dudes that just look fresh off the boat, and it turns out there's like, our migrant crisis isn't like Mexicans and Ecuadorians and Venezuelans or like whatever it is people think it is. It is that stuff, but like there's these people from Africa that fly to those places, take the same journey as them, and then they cross the border, and then they go into Texas, and then get bussed up to New York City and thrown into just absolute chaos. Like these people cannot speak a word of English. They don't know what to do. They're just like literally sitting in Tompkins Square Park.
In like a corner of it.
In a little corner of Tompkins Square Park, and like they're quiet. They're not bothering anyone. There's just a lot of them. And you just kind of get overwhelmed by humanity. and just taking on all those feelings and everything.
Well, what it feels to just be waiting. You're not in your life. You're like in an in between.
Yeah.
Like where you don't have a stable home. You don't have, it's it doesn't feel
and
like,
no one's trying to help them.
I mean, of course people are trying to help. There's
there's down and dirty people that are like, let's give these people
meals.
food today.
Yeah,
let's
food today.
try to figure out a shelter for these people. But like on the highest levels, the way that this needs to be dealt with, nobody's trying to deal with it because it's too valuable. They're too valuable of political pawns to keep us distracted and fighting, and just an intense few days makes me glad that we don't live in New York City anymore. I love New York City. I'll always love that city. I'm in awe of it. I'm in awe of it to the point where I'm like, I can't handle this.
I think there's something about, I think we've talked about this before, but something about why New Yorkers are so tough and how it, like, you think of New Yorkers as assholes, but in a lot of ways, like, New Yorkers live right on top of each other, so they're, like, I'm not trying to judge what city's more compassionate or whatever it is, but there's a ability to coexist. That doesn't mean you're friendly and, but...
Right. Yeah.
But then there's also, because you feel other people's existences so much, there is a barrier that people put up and a protection and a harsh attitude, I feel.
Yeah.
That's not like...
It would maybe seem harsh from the outside. But like, I don't know, like being on this medicine and going around, I'm like, this city is filled with like open-hearted motherfuckers, dreamers. And part of the harsh exterior is almost like it's almost like minding your own business because we're so on top of each other. It's almost like
people are like, oh, you go to the
necessary.
South and everyone says, hey, how's your day? And it's like, do you know how
That's
many...
all you get from them.
Yeah, but and it's also you're passing 15 people in a day, not 1,500 people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to close yourself off a little bit.
Yeah, I love the city. I love how I'm seeing different pockets of neighborhoods. Like there's a real movement towards overtaking lots and growing food. And I just feel that expanding more and more, and like communities more and more coming together, which feels cool. It was good to see that.
Yeah. Well, staying out in Bed-Stuy, like that warms my heart because you see a lot of community gardens but beyond that, just like the way people are with each other, like it's like, oh, it's after work. There's 20 people standing on this one stoop and someone's barbecuing food and, they're blasting music and smoking blunts and like people of all ages are coming and going. It's just like there's a community in the way you'd never see in the more gentrified neighborhoods. And Bed-Stuy's becoming gentrified, but it warms my heart to kind of walk around Bed-Stuy and be like, oh wow, they took over this lot and they're growing fuck tons of food here, and they're feeding the people, they're feeding each other, and they're sticking together, and it's just like it's a really cool thing. I also get tripped out by the amount of churches, whatever that scam is.
No, whether it's New York City or the South or anywhere, there's a lot of churches no matter where you go.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know
how do they do it. Like
I get more blown away in less populated areas. How you can be in a town that's like 3,000 people and there's like feels like there's 30 churches.
That's true. That's how it was in West Virginia. Like you'd go into a town that is like population 600 and there's 4 churches there, and you're like, how is this possible? But and people are like, oh, they don't pay taxes, but it's just like
still.
Yeah, but
operating costs, there's still.
When my family went to church, we'd put like, $5 in the little basket. Like,
Well, that was back in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm just surprised that churches haven't modernized. And I mean, there are churches that are modernizing, but it does feel like there hasn't been a real movement to modernize the church.
Well, Noah was saying on our last podcast that he's seeing a lot more like movement towards religiosity and people like finding religion again. And I think it's cool, and I think maybe it's because the world has modernized so much that somebody wants something kind of more grounded and familiar.
I wish there was a church I wanted to go to.
We are it.
I know, but
This is it. This is our sermon right now.
I know.
This is the Church of Chill, baby. It's a state of mind. It's not like a physical place. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, those places can exist, and so many of them can exist is because, like, they're providing, well, like you said, entertainment. There is a level of entertainment to it. They're providing community. You go there and you sing together and you speak the Lord's name together. It's such a beautiful thing. And they're providing eternal salvation.
Well,
Some people would pay a lot for that.
Maybe not. I don't know about eternal salvation. Maybe some people get it, but at least salvation for that moment. There is a momentary salvation where I've wept tears of joy.
Yeah.
And like love and just beauty and awareness.
Yeah.
In a church.
You've only microdosed religion, so I get to see its real power on somebody. Like, you didn't grow up with like any structured religion, right? Like,
no, we went to church on like Easter once in a while with my grandma.
Yeah. But like, your parents weren't forcing any religion or religious beliefs on you or anything like that. I don't think you guys were atheists by a long shot, knowing your mom and the way she is. But it's just very interesting to see how you react to that environment. Like, I was so, beaten over the head with it as a Catholic coming up, and like, all I wanted to do was sleep in on Sundays.
No, I go into this church and I'm like putting $20 in the little pan, and someone would, like one of my girlfriends, this is a while ago, she was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "This is amazing.
This is fucking incredible."
I'm like, all the stained glass, all the incense, all the words of love and community. I'm like,
you love the vibe.
I love it.
Yeah. No, and I remember that time we went to, what was it, like a pastor's conference? We're like, let's go see what this is all about. And they start singing Jesus songs, and man, I've never seen you cry like that. That was crazy, Cass. Like, you were...
I could cry now just thinking about it.
Why is it? What do you think it did? Why? What is it about Jesus songs that get you?
It's an acknowledgement of the divine and a celebration of it, and a collective recognition of something greater and something beautiful and something pure, and saying we honor that and we serve it and we are that, and we can I don't know, I don't think there's anything more worthy of celebrating than that.
I agree. I mean, it's the same reason I'm crying like when we go to Grateful Dead or like Rolling Stones. When we saw the Rolling Stones, I was like, I'm crying fucking halfway through the set. I'm crying through Brown Sugar. It's a song about having sex with black women. I could feel that, though. You know what I mean? The thing that church was supposed to elicit in me, I get from the altar of rock and roll.
Yeah, because you're a Satanist.
Maybe. Remember when we first were taking acid and you were like thinking about that stuff?
Oh, when you
first heard the Stones on acid.
When they sing, "I see a red door and I want to paint it black," I was like, this is the darkest song I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It was basically like just darkening everything. It's like, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm like, what are these guys? I was like, this is some dark magic.
It is.
No wonder they're still alive,
They made a deal with the devil.
They made it too.
An angel like Jerry couldn't live too long.
No.
Mick Jagger and Keith Richards will be doing it forever. It's crazy. They'll be doing it this summer in their 80s. Shout out to them.
What do you think it is about... Why? I mean, it doesn't even feel like there is... This like is it gonna just happen where all of a sudden like the churches are like gone? Like, what's gonna happen? It just feels like such an old school way of doing things, and it feels like the younger generation isn't really drawn to it. But it feels like it's gonna be more necessary than ever.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go away. It's too embedded in at least here. It's like it's just so embedded in like fulfilling people's needs for those things.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of structure, like a lot of people, they want to be told or want to have some idea about how to serve the divine and how to do it in human form, and like how to live a life and how to live a fulfilling life. And it's much easier to be told by like a charismatic priest class.
What about the Quakers? Do you think, have you ever been to a Quaker meeting?
No, I want to. I would love to do that.
The idea is,
I've been to AA meetings.
which is based on, is it?
I don't know.
No.
I have no idea.
Well, what I understand about Quaker meetings is basically there's a time and a meeting place, and you all sit in a circle, and then whoever feels called to say something says something, and that's how it goes.
We went to an Al-Anon meeting once that felt like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a structure to it. It was a little more structured,
Yeah.
But yeah, it did feel like someone was more just holding the container rather than like in charge. They were just like, okay, anyone could hold the container. If you keep coming to Al-Anon, at some point you're going to be the one who has to hold the container.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of like the jam band version of religion, it sounds like. It's like sometimes, like I'm sure that there's like Quaker ceremonies or whatever they're called, Quaker meetups that like really hit. Just like, wow, everything just fucking came together. And there's probably ones just like, that felt a little flat, but, I got to be around the homies.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, well, if I want to hear something, I might need to say something.
Yeah.
Where it kind of changes the onus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, but like, I don't know, we've talked about it a million times in this podcast. It's like we all need it. We need each other. We need each other so bad. And we have all these ways of convincing ourselves otherwise. But we really, really just want to be around and feed off of each other and be distracted by each other and get into dramas and help each other find salvation. Like we really, like it feels like a core need of human beings. And, I feel like everything in our culture is like pushing us more towards a tendency to isolate. And I think that's what makes me so sad when we drive around New York City. It just feels like the movie Taxi Driver energy. It's just like, how could you feel lonely in this? But I'm like looking around at a bunch of people that are like lonely because they're isolated with their problems and their financial struggles and shit.
The most lonely I ever felt was like when I lived in New York City I've lived in New York City for a long time. I just moved out of New York City, but when I was living in New York City and was single, because I have like a bit of familial agoraphobia. It's like multi-generational agoraphobia.
Oh yeah, you think that could be passed on?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's in like the blood, I think, or whatever.
It comes from your mom?
Yeah, I think so. My mom's side of the family, that was like, her aunts and uncles were all like lived in a house together and never went anywhere, shut-ins and, that sort of vibe. But I just remember going into the streets or going somewhere and just feeling like I couldn't connect. Like, yeah. I kept seeing people, but there was no connection. And that there's something very lonely about that. Like being around people, but not like seeing each other.
Yeah. I think it's a big thing. It's a big thing we talk about a lot from a lot of different angles. But it's disturbing. That's the feeling I was tapping into. It was that, I'm like, I'm just observing people that are like, just seem lonely, And then every now and then you see like a bunch of toddlers holding hands crossing the street, and you're just like, oh my God.
They're so cute.
They're so cute. People are so cute, Like everyone's trying, everyone's doing their best. Like it wasn't making me depressed. It was making me just like really tapped into something that I think I was medicating away with weed for a long time. And just kind of like, just stay in your bubble and, you don't get distracted or bored or anything like that. And I don't know, when my mind wanders, especially when I'm on this medicine, it's like, oh my goodness gracious.
Well, it's kind of funny because like the coolest people we ended up interacting with were like the homeless guys. You know what I mean?
Always.
So it's always that way. But it's so funny. Like the wisest people and the coolest people are always the ones that like people are most afraid of.
I don't know. They're the people I'm least afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kid that came up to our window when we were sitting trying to cross the Williamsburg Bridge the other day, and he like knocked on our window, and we gave him $10, and like he was asking for stickers and.
Yeah, I've never seen someone enjoy the stickers I gave him so much.
He was like, "What? Oh my God!" He's like, "I love stickers," and we.
I was like, "I share that with you. We love stickers too."
Yeah, but like like I don't know. I always feel more drawn to and comfortable, kind of talking to those people. I can't relate with people that as much that are trying so hard to like fit in and it feels like they're in like a weird little hamster wheel type of life. Like it's harder for me to relate with them. I can relate more with the person who's just like, yeah, I fucked up, I'm on the streets, or like, I don't give a damn, I'm on the streets. I'm like, damn, that's badass. I want to talk to you. I want to absorb more from you. I want to learn the ways, because I'm too scared to do it.
Yeah.
I can do it in certain aspects of my life, but...
And part of the reason you do it is because, you can do it safely or whatever.
Yeah.
Securely or whatever.
I have many safety nets.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, what we were talking about the other day that kind of fits in with this, like, this weird, like, lonely culture of, like, projecting and stuff is the concept of limerence.
You love this. You went down you're in a rabbit.
I'm in a crazy rabbit hole. It's just, like, it kind of fascinates me. Like, you were saying, like, when you're medicating with internet stuff, you're always on the "Am I the asshole" thread on Reddit.
I'm always got my nose in other people's drama.
Yeah, and
making
like,
my own judgments.
Yeah, why though? Why do you think that?
I don't know. We were talking a lot about the difference between men and women, and making gross generalizations, obviously. But like when you go in a internet hole, a lot of times yours is like, oh, this baseball player leads to this Wikipedia thing, leads to this musician, leads to this thing, and I'm like, oh no, I just end up in other people's dramas. And I just was thinking more about how just even the way a lot of women, I think, and this is I'm generalizing, but like bond over relationship drama, and that's gossip. How are people relating? I get very like, and maybe that's because that's been keeping a family together and keeping relations, and me being responsible for knowing when people's birthdays are, and just like all these little things.
Yeah. There is a primal element to it.
And maybe, I don't know what comes first, but maybe it also is because you mother, and so you care about raising a little one, and you're more like going out, and I get jealous sometimes. I'm like, wow, you're more idea focused and do focused, and I'm more, what am I? You know what I mean? What are we? Yeah. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like when I talk to my best friends on the phone, we're like talking about relationships and the guy they're dating, and some sort of, where am I in my life? And I feel like when you talk to guy friends, you're like trying to make each other laugh and talking about ideas and where are we going to go? Yeah. So it's like this little bit of a difference, at least with how you and I relate to people. Sometimes.
I mean, there's something to it. Like I was reading the other day about like even the concept of like gossip, how like women gossip, like it's actually kind of a survival mechanism.
That
like
makes
tell
sense.
me about people. Like tell me about the people around here. Tell me about the people you've dated and interacted with. Is that a good guy? Is that a bad person? Should I protect my kids from them? Should I not be going to this store anymore? Should like there's something to that.
Yeah, me and your mom, we get in the gossip, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here because you can tell me everything that's going." I'm not that I know what's going on,
no,
but
I know of all people for her to go to.
But I'm like, I know, if I hear something, I'll tell you.
yeah, totally. Well, yeah, I got caught up in this like there's a subreddit
some
for
girl brain.
Yeah, some girl brain stuff, but it's not just girl brain. It's actually a lot of dudes too. But like this idea of limerence, which I guess you could just call unrequited love. It's kind of like it's projecting a love story onto somebody who probably doesn't even think about you.
Yeah.
Or think about you in that way for sure. And, these things really lead to some major mental health crises for people. Like, you could even call the whole thing a mental health crisis.
Well, look at what the whole series about twin flames. I mean...
Yeah.
That was all limerence.
Exactly. There wasn't I don't know. I didn't have that term back then, but that's what I would have called it when we watched that. Yeah, the twin flames cult was based on limerence. It was a bunch of... in that case, it was a bunch of women who... Whatever,
we can generalize here.
Yeah, but a lot of it, I'm not even kidding. We'll go on the subreddit. It's a lot of dudes, too. It's a lot of people. Maybe the dudes don't end up in a cult for it, but, but like...
But they're affected in different ways, yeah.
It's people that, like, have a coworker that they have a crush on, who maybe gave them the time of day a couple times, and they've built it into a crazy-ass love story and a saga that's controlling their life and taking up the majority of their thoughts. And it just it makes me so sad when I hear about this stuff. It's like I can't help but, like, read these stories and, like, fuck tons of memes. Like, That's how you know a real subculture is forming. Is like you go on there and it's just memes about this stuff. And oh my Lord, Cass,
It's like a drug addiction. It's like a drug withdrawal. It's because it's like a chemical reaction where someone makes you feel something excited. Like, you kind of, they give you this high. And so you think that they're the source of that high. And so you become attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
And more, it's just like, oh, that's something that's capable. You have a capacity within yourself to have those feelings, but it gets very quickly attached to a particular person. And then you like chase it like a drug. And then what happens is you got to quit it like a drug, and I think what happens is people really think, no, this person is my drug. They are the answer. They are the thing. And your brain
They're
wants
going to fulfill everything.
to tell the story
Yeah.
to make it make sense. And I think because a lot of in my YouTube universes that I've gone into, there's a lot of people talking about attachment styles. That's a big thing. Are you an anxiously attached person? Are you an avoidantly attached person? Blah, 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 blah. How do you attach? And it's funny, I was thinking in the shower this morning, I was like, love feels like home. Everything else is just, like we were
the wilderness.
It's the wilderness. It's the wilderness, and it's drug reactions, it's chemical reactions, it's highs, it's attraction, it's sex, it's all that stuff. But and you can have all that with love, but if you have that without the love, then you end up in limerence or whatever it is, and it feels like you're getting all those love reactions because you become obsessed and you have the object of your affection and object of your desire, but that's not love, that's desire. And so you have this desire for someone or something. And basically what I was trying to say about these attachment styles is the only reason that someone becomes partly an anxiously attached person is because they're dealing with an avoidantly attached person.
And that's what it's arising in you.
Yeah, it triggers that.
Yeah.
But that's not like, I don't think that's that trigger and that creation of a game. Like, oh, it's putting all these chemicals. We talk about gambling all the time. That's what love and dating and relationship and Snapchat and whatever is like, triggering all this gamification of the dating experience.
Yeah.
And when you gamify the dating experience, you all of a sudden want to win.
Yeah.
And you want to do good, and you want to get validation, and you want to get likes, and you want to get attention, and you want to get your Snapchats saved or whatever the fuck it is. And then it's like gamifying who you are as a person and your self-worth. And that's all like can be very exciting and titillating, but true love is like mutual.
Yeah, and it's calm.
And then everything else is like a joke almost.
Yeah. Well, and the gamification of dating and everything, that's interesting that you put it that way. It makes me think like that it's kept us in like a reduced, our culture and the gamification of things and the way movies are and the way, media portrays relationships and love and all this stuff. And social media especially, it's like kept us in a reduced form of consciousness, and it's almost like infantilized us to the point where it's like it's like an imaginary friend, really. Like it's like you're having a drama with a person that doesn't even fucking know about it. And like I've been on the receiving end. I've been the object of limerence a few times in my life, and that is not fun. That is it's very disturbing. I've lost some good friends over it. I thought we were homies. Like I used to work with this girl at the History Channel, and like we'd get lunch together every day. It was just like it's like my homegirl. Like I would gossip with her. I would tell her about my relationship problems. I would tell her about who I was going on dates with and how that was going, and talk about music and talk about movies, and like my defenses were down kind of. So like I don't know, like I can be charming when I'm not trying to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't attracted to this person. I did not imagine a relationship with her. I wasn't pursuing her, and she was doing all that stuff, but secretly. Like, you know, she kept it to herself, but she was in love with me. And like, she had built all this story and this drama and everything, finally came clean about it, and like just started hitting me with like the worst shit ever. Like, this was like such a vulnerable time in my life. Like, this is when my sister was dying, and like I was just really going through it, and I was like very sober, as we've talked about in a past episode. Like, and you know, it just felt so nice to have a friend that like I wasn't just like at work. I was just like, oh cool, halfway through the day I'm gonna go out with my homegirl, and like we're gonna grab lunch together, and I'll get to vent and she'll get to vent and we'll get to talk and whatever. And I think like she thought we were falling in love, and it's so not what was happening, and I took up so much space in her life. And when she finally hit me with it, it was like she was hitting me with like a lot of like guilt, and like just like I should feel bad, and like I fucked her up, and I, you know, I was sending the wrong signals and this and that. And like I can tell you right now, like I know when I'm fucking around and I know when I'm doing that stuff. It was not the case. It just really wasn't.
That doesn't mean that someone doesn't like form an attraction or a bond or anything.
Totally, totally. But like I was the be all end all to her, and it's just like, and I knew the second that she admitted it all to me, I was like, our friendship's over. Like, how you know what I mean? Like, how do you go back to
Well, because then
anything normal?
Yeah, because then you're just if you were playing games this whole time not knowing it, now when you know it, how are you not going to be playing games moving forward?
Yeah, it's just like she just sees me in a different way than I'm trying to come off, and it's like maybe that's why I'm attracted to this subreddit. It's just like kind of seeing what the other side of it looks like, seeing what like, you know, unrequited obsession kind of like reads like, and it's like it's terrifying to me, and it's just like I don't know, I don't have my words about it about this, but
No, it's interesting though that there's a reason you're attracted to this whole, like you're processing something by
yeah,
learning about
yeah,
what your friends say was going through and why, like where, because it probably came to you like all through left field and was very confusing.
yeah, it was very confusing, and I lost like one of my best friends to
Mm-hmm.
to this type of thing. And like what you're saying, it's like when it's real, all that stuff isn't the case.
You're not
you know?
asking a lot of questions, in my experience, when you love someone and you
Yeah.
like when you're in love with someone and they're mutually in love with you. Like
Yeah,
it might not be as fun and hit on those same, but it's like more comfortable.
yeah,
And then there's all the things that have to do with how you were raised and how you were shown love, and maybe attachment styles that have to do with more the attachment style your parents showed with you and how you
What is my attachment style?
clingy. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what your attachment style is. I actually haven't thought about it that much. I don't know. What is your attachment style?
I just want to feel like we're in this together, and that we're building something together. When that goes away, when that feeling goes away, that's when my relationships tend to end.
Yeah, I think.
Is that true?
I don't know. I don't know how your relationships have ended. I know how some of them have ended, but
Yeah.
I think you have abandonment issues.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't know if that has to do with attachment styles or what, but I think there's stuff about you being afraid of being abandoned that cause, like, if you feel like someone's leaving you, whether or not you want them to leave, you get like start to hold on tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't want to be left
Mm-hmm.
or rejected or whatever it is.
Yeah. That is definitely. I don't know if it plays into it, but I definitely have abandonment issues, and like I've had to deal with it. You know, I've been abandoned. I've been abandoned by my whole family, who are like, Sean will be fine, and I'm like, and it's such a scary thing, you know, to go from like having family and close family to like they're not there the next day. That I think it makes you want to control things, and where you can control them, you should, and you know. I don't know how that plays out in my relationships, but like my relationships burn really hot, and like it seems like they'll never end when I'm in them. You know, it seems like this is my person. We're in this together. This will never end. We're loyal to each other. We wouldn't abandon each other. And then when it happens, it kind of like brings me back to that like scared fucking teenager that was like abandoned by his family. You know.
And that's what you can remember. Even think when you were born. You were sick, so you didn't get to see, like, your mom didn't get to see you for 3 days. Like, 3 days as a newborn baby, you were just isolated.
I was in a little like plastic box or
Like
something.
those first
They
3
poked holes
days.
in it and put me in a plastic box.
Yeah, little shoebox. I
Yeah,
heard.
yeah.
And
No, but it's true. Like they really did. Like they I didn't get birthed. It was a C-section. I got emergency pulled out of my mom's uterus and immediately like whisked away because I was about to die.
I think you're in a. Are
And
you in a uterus? You're in a womb? Or...
I don't know.
Yeah. What? I don't think you
I have
know.
no idea. I'm not a woman.
You're
It's
in
not
a.
my
It's a.
problem.
You're in the womb.
Yeah, I was in the womb. I just got. I'm starting to get very high. I just got pulled out of there and put in a little plastic box in the other room for a few days. And my mom was just like completely wiped out because like that was like on the other end of like 36 hours of labor.
Didn't she have strep or something?
Yeah. Yeah, she had like a strep infection. And I guess I had it. And they thought I was going to die for sure, but then they thought she was going to die. And like she was just laying there sleeping, this and that. And she kept like waking up and being like, "Where is my boy?" And I didn't know what was going on. You know, I'm in the other room and my dad, talk about anxious. My dad's getting a priest to give me last rites and shit. You know what I mean?
So you're ready to go now.
That was how I spent my first 3 days on this fucking thing. Like in a little plastic box, not knowing what the heck is going on. You know, it probably left some sort of impression that I can't even consciously tap into.
I believe that. I think
Yeah.
that's why when people do psychedelics, they have like go through their birth story again, birth experience.
Yeah.
And I think, where your mom was at affects if they were under a lot of duress or whatever throughout the pregnancy, that can create like an anxious child. There's certain aspects. But it also just plays in cycles, repeating patterns of each person's life journey. And maybe that's where it's like we shouldn't even be judging if someone goes through limerence. It's like a beautiful thing. To have something that you love and are in love with and the object of your affection, but if you really love something, you gotta let it go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't judge the limerence people. Like they're a little community.
You'll have your taste of it someday, I'm sure.
I hope not. I just don't think it's the way I relate. Like, you know what I mean? Unless it's mutual. Like, I don't know. If it was triggering all that shit for me, I would stay away from the person.
Well, I will say you're like huge consent energy. I don't know how else to put it, but you're not attracted to someone until you're sure they're attracted to you. Almost.
It's almost like the process can't even start until it's like obviously
and then
mutual.
if someone's like playing a little hard to get, you're like, I don't even think I like them.
I did it with you. You played a little bit of hard to get. You were like, I don't know if this is kind of inappropriate what we're doing. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, whatever. I'll fall back. I'll still be your friend. It's all good,
Yeah.
And, yeah. But if, like, you're the closest thing I have to that, like where I would, but we were actually in a love affair. But, like, I would, like, when we'd hang out and have, like, a great date or something, it would kill me to know that, like, we can't be all together all the time.
Yeah, I was out there dating.
God knows what you were doing.
I was out there fucking dating.
Luckily, you were agoraphobic.
Yeah, no, I really wasn't doing anything.
It's the best thing I could have done is find myself a young, beautiful, agoraphobic girl who's new to the city.
Agoraphobic, I think, is dramatic because I think it's like saying I'm like scared of things. But I
would just rather sit in your apartment and eat Parmesan cheese than like interact with the world.
Yeah, I'm like, what is out there for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially since I don't connect with anybody.
Yeah, but how do you know until you really
try?
Until you put yourself out there.
You gotta crack your heart open when you go out there. You gotta go out there almost open.
Yeah, and at that age too, it's like, what do you have really?
You
know what I mean? You barely have any interests. You're just like, I guess I can get drunk, like and that becomes an interest, and then that becomes a problem. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're first starting out in the city. It's very confusing. Very confusing.
Well, I will say, I don't know if this is girl brain or just young love brain, but like I think a lot of times the foundation of limerence is often filling your mind wanting to tell stories. So you have this person you like, and you tell all these stories about fill in like the blanks of how things would be perfect.
Yeah.
Your mind does like this wild
how
storytelling.
much better your life would be. when in fact it would be a nightmare, like you shouldn't want to get with the person that you have those unhealthy feelings towards, because it's not going to be mutual, and it's going to create anxious attachments. It's going to create this like sense of like they're slipping away from you, or they were never yours to begin with. And yeah, look, I respect the game, and I can see what you're saying. Like, that's what our ego does. It's just like it's telling stories, and it's filling in the
I
blanks.
think a lot of people have affairs, and like this chemical reaction happens where they like are NRE, new relationship energy, where they're like, oh my God, this new object of my affection, they're everything. They make me feel this whole new way. I'm obsessed, blah, blah, blah. But they don't even freaking know the person.
No.
It's...
Well, because they're in a haze of chemicals.
They're in a chemical haze.
Yeah.
You know, and so you get in this chemical haze, and you're like, oh my God, I'm feeling all these feelings, and it must be real, and never felt like this before. But it's like, honestly, probably some of the most unhealthy feelings. And I don't know, I think we're just talking about love as a drug.
It is.
And that's why, like, gambling, whether you're winning or losing, you're still getting the chemicals go off. So if you're
getting the same amount of them too.
Yeah, so think about that, and then put it towards your object of affection. They're giving you attention, they're not giving you attention. It might seem like, oh, I'm happy now when they write me, and I'm sad when they don't, or whatever. But either way, being in that game is like a lot of chemicals.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't want to be making big life decisions in that chemical haze.
No.
And like
not.
you've told me before that it lasts like 3 years too.
What does? Oh, the oxytocin thing?
Yeah, like new relationship energy, oxytocin. It's like, I don't know. We've seen people get into relationships and it moves really fast. And
it always makes us nervous.
It always makes me a little nervous. Not to say it can't work out. I mean,
I think at a certain
sometimes
age,
it does. A lot of times it does.
At a certain age, you know yourself better.
Yeah.
And that's what I find. My friends who get married at, 35, I'm like, okay, yeah, they found their person. They've been through a lot of people. They know what love feels like and everything like that. But when I was 20, I just remember being like, I would never marry someone that I was with less than 3 years. And then after I was
lived with for
and then
years.
After I was with you, I was like, well, I would never marry someone that I haven't been with, because we had such a huge shift in our relationship at the 7-year mark.
Yeah.
I was like, I would never marry someone I'd been with for less than 7 years.
And now what is it, 14?
Yeah, like I'd still never marry you.
I'd never marry this motherfucker. Yeah.
But that's just, I think people can jump more blindly into love, and not that I'm not jumping blindly into love, but into the government contract with someone,
Well, yeah. I mean,
everyone has their own dance. I'm not to judge, but I personally, seeing how much my attraction for you hasn't changed, and I've loved you more and more. But I remember after my first relationship, 3 years, it changed drastically. I was like, okay, well, not with someone for 3 years and getting married.
Oh, yeah.
Because the chemicals wore out and things just changed. And you're like,
you
whoa.
went from like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and I'll do anything for this guy to like, fuck this motherfucker, this weirdo, this angry piece of shit. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Like, like.
It wasn't that brutal, but yeah.
But it was such a big change that when I met you, you were like, I'm not doing that again. Like the fact that you could have the love rug pulled out from you so hard that you're like, I'm not doing that. You told me the first night we met, you're like, I'm not doing love again.
Well, the thing
like,
about
wow,
the way that I love,
the
way that I love and my attachment style, I don't know if that's what you call it, but the way that I love is like, I'm really invested, and I really want to feel like I'm making the other person's life better. And if I don't have that reflection, I don't want anything to do with it.
So
if I can't see like market improvement on someone's like emotional health based on my presence, that's why we're a perfect match. Because like you give me that validation of like, yes, I love you being with me and you make me happy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's even true that someone can make you happy.
Yeah.
But at least I feel like I do. So I'm like, okay, this is good.
Well, I mean, like I wouldn't go into something. Like if you're looking at it like no limit poker, I wouldn't do a relationship unless I was willing to push all those chips in, and then I looked at the other person and they were doing the same thing. Like if that's not the case, I'm not doing this. Like to me, it's just like I'd rather remain open. Unless we're both saying like, oh, all in, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like that might seem insane to most people, but I don't know. That's just the way I've done it. It's just like, to me, it's the biggest thing. It is the drug. It's the reason.
That's why we have painful breakups. Because of how you love. Your breakups are always going to be painful.
Yeah, no. I know.
Because you're an all-in person and you expect all-in from someone else.
Yeah.
That's going to lead to painful breakups like 90,000, 100% of the time.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Like,
because to have the kind of love that's an all-in love is worth it to you.
If you want, like, look, you can't even appreciate being on the highest mountaintops of love unless you've been into the deepest valleys of love. You really can't. You can't even understand. So, like, I've been in the deepest valleys. I've been in the despair. We've been there together. Or in like the despair, we lost our mojo. We cannot get our heads screwed on straight. We can't stop thinking about this person. It's like it's affecting everything. It's like it fucked us up. We're going through severe withdrawals. But like I feel like it also tapped us into like a deeper part of the sea of love. Like going through that and having been through that,
Yeah, the sea of love goes very deep.
Yes, exactly. It feels much deeper because we've drowned in it a million times. And yeah, if it was all like fucking rainbows and coconuts all the time, that wears off. You get used to that, And yeah, something about going through the deepest depths of despair has helped me appreciate this more on the day to day. I love you so much, you know what I mean?
I love you so much.
I'm so tapped into it every day because I've been in bad relationships. I've stayed in relationships that have soured and hung around, and where you wake up and you're waking up into a nightmare. I'm waking up into my dream life every day. Everything might be falling apart, but we're together and we went all in on this thing together.
Okay, looking back on our relationship, what do you think are the things that we've done that have led to our quote unquote success story? I don't know. The success story sounds lame, but what do you think, quote unquote, what do you think has led us to maintaining the deep attraction and well of love that we still have for each other over this amount of time?
It might just be as simple as like, well, first of all, you're so beautiful. I've never met somebody that I'm so attracted to.
Okay, so that's the first level. There's a
It's
physical attraction.
Yeah.
Dan Savage says, he's one of the first people I read say something like this, because people have this idea that, like, you should be loved no matter what, and I do believe that through sickness and health, but if you get with someone and you take care of yourself in a certain way, I think the expectation is, like, the person doesn't have to stay with you if you stop exercising totally and don't care about your health and your body and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think we've both maintained a care for our physical well-being.
Well, I think it stems from we care about our sex. Like, I think we stumbled into our people. We're each other's people, and we have incredible sex, and we've like really valued that from the first time we ever had sex. So we do it every day. So, and we get better at it somehow. But I think that like we're each other's drug connection in that way. Like you're in charge of like my dopamine, and it makes me worship you. And it's cool.
Oh, that reminds me. Sorry, not to sidetrack.
Go for it.
As long as I'm doing all this time reading Reddit, might as well share some of the tales.
Come on, that's what. Otherwise, it's wasted time.
It is wasted time. But someone was talking on there about how their wife didn't want to have sex and she would just keep rejecting him. So he eventually, like, obviously that's humiliating. And so he was just like, okay, anytime I want to have sex with my wife, and I'd usually like go and grab her or ask her if she wants to have sex, and I've just been rejected, so many times that I'm not going to do that anymore.
9 times out of 10.
19 times out of 20. Yeah.
Even worse.
Even worse. Even worse. And I'm sure he's not trying, 19 times in a month even, so just figure.
Oh my God.
So what he did, assuming this is a real story, is he stopped coming to her like that. You know, every time he'd think about her, he'd almost start thinking about her like a child or a sister, or like someone who it's like familial, like it's inappropriate for him to have sexual thoughts about. Because almost like kind of like how you are, it's like a consent thing. You're so about the consent that if someone wasn't consenting, you'd be like, well, it's wrong. This is wrong to think like this. So he was like reprogramming his brain to, you know, treat her like a friend. And then all of a sudden her sex drive starts to glimmer back, and she comes on to him, and he's like, yeah, maybe tomorrow, you know, because he totally desexualized his wife.
Damn.
To protect himself. And I think he did a disservice by not communicating that to her.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why relationships, there's communication is so important. You think you're doing what's best for the relationship. Like, look, she doesn't want to have sex. I shouldn't ask her to have sex. Like, I'm being a good boyfriend, a good husband, or whatever. But if you're not communicating your needs and just like repressing it, the damage that you can do to the relationship is so much worse. And
they're a dysfunctional couple.
yeah.
You know.
Well, and then I don't know if it was this guy or another guy, but someone was saying that they're on like a low dose of something.
Oh, that one, we both came across that one. That one blew my mind. This guy was getting rejected from his wife 49 times out of 50. Like, really just like barely ever had sex. And she didn't want him taking care of his own needs. She found it to be disgusting and repulsive.
That he would look at pornographic material or anything.
Yeah, and relieve himself. Which,
of the demon seed.
Doing that to a man, as a woman, I just...
Is that literally emasculating?
Probably. I mean, it's just like, it's fucked up because you need to move that energy or it's going to go to strange fucking places. So this dude
prostate cancer.
Yeah. Like, seriously, the tension is just going to build up and turn into a little tumor. And it's just so inappropriate. Like, first of all, you got to leave this woman. But instead of leaving this woman, this guy gets on fucking some libido-killing drug that I didn't even know existed. But, like, basically probably, like, whatever antidepressants do to men, you know, how it kills their libido. Like, you can take a low dose of those. And he talked about what drug it was.
Well, he had to because he was getting so many DMs. That was the most concerning thing, is so many men were DMing him being like, what is this drug? I need this drug.
What the heck is going on out there?
Because they're like, my sexuality is not matched up with my partner's to the point where it's causing issues.
Yeah. So, I don't know. To bring it back to the question at hand, our relationship with each other is sexual and romantic, and everything that's kind of the foundation to it.
And we've prioritized that, and you've been good because I think as a woman, whatever, I'll say it.
I'll fucking say it. I'm a woman.
I'll fucking say it. I'll call ownership to that, whatever. Yes, our like men's sexuality and female sexuality can be a little different. It can look like I have such major hormone changes that happen over the course of a month.
Yeah.
And you're like more stable. So you like wake up and you're like, I have a demon seed.
Yeah.
I'd like to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily wake up every morning with that same fervor to spread my seed.
Yeah, but we've learned to work together.
No, we've learned to work together. But I'm saying just based on that, I think that's why communication and what I've come to appreciate about our relationship and how we communicate is that you talk to me about that rather than just like it just like became something we worked about together rather than a situation where all of a sudden you see me like a friend and I'm like, wait, you don't find me attractive anymore? Like, what the hell just happened?
It's like, no, I've trained myself not to. Like, that, to me, that's dysfunction, and that's a two-way street. You can't necessarily blame look, I blame the woman for like, why are you rejecting this guy so much? But I blame the man for like not like
communicating
something.
A big problem that would be caused.
Yeah, just being like, look, I know you can't probably relate with this whatsoever, but like, this is utterly distracting and taking over my life.
Could you see though how some men who maybe would want to take a testosterone or like a libido reducing drug, does that make sense to you? Is there any world in which you can comprehend where you'd be like, oh, me being this horny all the time is actually kind of frustrating?
I would have to start filling my life with some other things. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, that's going to naturally happen. I don't know when, but it probably will naturally happen over time. But it's such my life force, and it's such the foundation to this relationship that, like, I would have to start a process of deprioritizing that and prioritizing other things. And like, like, look, if we had kids, like I could see where something like that could come in handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
if all of a sudden we had to deal with like two little rascals running around and it's like, oh, I love these guys. I love our life. I love my wife. I want to be
I
with
don't
her.
want to be a creep jerking off in the bathroom.
I don't want to. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Let me do something. But because like the people in the comments on that thread were like, yo, game changer, man.
Yeah.
I got my focus back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But like, I don't know. I'm an artist. I'm a caveman. I'm like.
Well, I like it. I like that you have a high sex drive. I like that you've communicated with me.
I don't even think I have a high sex drive.
Okay.
Like
you have a stable.
It's stable, but
steady.
I really don't think it's like it's high and it's out of control. I don't. But there's a lot of people that would look at my life and be like, "You belong in Sex Addiction Anonymous meetings." So.
Yeah, maybe. But I will say, as someone who maybe doesn't like wake up with the same fervor, I always really enjoy having sex with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've learned to work with me because it's like, look, I might just take longer to warm up to the place where you're ready to rear. And I'm like, okay, I'll take a second to warm up, but I always get there. Yeah. And I think what men in relationships, and we're talking out, I don't know, I'm talking just shut at this point, but shite. But I think what happens in a lot of that dissonance between men and women, that time, if a man's not willing to put the time into getting their female partner to the same place they are, then there's no point. You know what I mean?
It's like kind of why I don't like, where I have no qualms about saying our sexuality is foundational to our relationship, because it leads to better communication. It leads to me having to understand your body and what works for you, and it leads for you to have to understand my body and what works for me. And it's like almost like that allows us to then share a vision for a movie and share a vision for how we want to have our business and how we want to have a social life and the types of people we want to be. And like that being at the foundation of it, to me, is kind of like the healthiest thing for us. I don't know what other people do. I can't really speak to it. But
you can see how a relationship, sex could wither into like, okay, well, I just have to go take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I just accept my wife's not into this. I also, maybe, whether or not I know it, I'm not willing to put the energy into getting her to want to be in it. Whether it's, aphrodisiac, I think, is house chores for a lot of women.
Yeah, I'm the master of that shit.
Yeah, so much so that I've never lived a life without it, so I don't even know.
But it probably has been a low-level aphrodisiac for not only you, but all my partners.
Definitely.
I'll clean your place.
Exactly.
I want to.
No, there's certain things that definitely are surprisingly aphrodisiac. Like when you do certain things, like when you help your dad out in the yard, I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually, I don't know why that's such an aphrodisiac. Like maybe it's something that you kind of find annoying, or you want to do but you don't do, and then it all.
Like I feel like probably just me being selfless.
Yeah, anything that you do that's selfless is like the biggest aphrodisiac.
Yeah, because it's showing that I'd be a good father and that you should be receiving of my seed. But when I'm a selfish person, it's like a big turnoff.
Yeah.
And you don't want the seed of a selfish person.
I guess not. I don't know. You're never a turn off, so it's hard to even say that. I can just talk about what would be more of a turn on.
Yeah, but you met me you met me as I was going into my 30s. Mm-hmm. You know, so I was a little bit more behind the control panel, and you know, I wasn't in scarcity mode. I'll say that when I met you.
Yeah, you were very confident.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's just like, I don't know, I think that's kind of...
You could take it or leave it with me. At least it felt like that. And that was very attractive.
Yeah.
You know, that you weren't desperate, because that's where the desperate energy can be kind of repulsive.
No, that's why like I'm so fascinated by limerence. Like, and I love reading about it, because I'm like, wow, there's one person you're obsessed with, like, and they're not reciprocating. Like, just go find there's so many people out there. Like, what are you kidding me?
It's like a drug. Right now I'm quitting hot sauce.
Yeah, you are.
And it is a process.
Yeah, I'm quitting Q-tips. It's a process.
It is a process.
Yeah, those things don't belong in your ears. I don't know why I ever got that idea.
I was having a hard time yesterday or we had a stressful, whatever, hour-long drive that we had, and I took out the hot sauce and I like put it in front of my plate because I was like, I deserve this. I fucking need this. I want this, you know?
Yeah.
And then I
You
just,
didn't use it,
I
though.
didn't use it. I just stared at it because
Yeah.
I was already 4 days deep into no hot sauce. So it was like the perfect time to introduce it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. That's like an as above, so below thing. It's like, you know, we're making big adjustments to our life. And like you can,
And you also have to make the micro adjustments.
but I feel like as below, so above.
Yeah.
Really, more than even the other way around, is like that's kind of the way I've been doing it. That's the way I'm retaking control of my life and my dopamine and all my addictions that I'm getting over, that we spent so many episodes talking about this year. But like, it's just making little changes. Getting out of the shower and not reaching for a Q-tip is helping me feel like in control of a lot of other things, believe it or not.
Well, I told you it's getting easier because it takes. I've gotten addicted to Q-tips, but it has to do with how often you use them, and once you stop using them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many little things in our life that you think like, well, I just like that. What do you mean? I'm not addicted to it. I just like it.
That's what you were saying about hot sauce the other day. You're like, what if I'm not addicted to hot sauce right now? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. You're like, what if I just like it and I'm not addicted? And I'm like, yeah. You used to tell me that about nicotine. Talk about enabling fucking language. I'm like, I got to stop taking these things. You're like, I don't even think you're addicted to them. I think you just like them. And I'm like, cool. That'll keep me going for another 6 months. You know? Which is true. Both can be true.
Yeah.
And it's weird, like with nicotine especially, it's like, was I addicted to it? Or did I just like doing it?
I don't. Yeah, it's a blurry.
Because I stopped it, like
It's-
no problem.
It's all semantics. It's a blurry line.
Yeah, yeah,
But when you don't like your breakfast as much without the hot sauce, and you're just like kind of a little irritated. Like I was irritated that I didn't have hot sauce.
yeah. Well, it gets you into that existential shit I was talking about. Of just like, what is life? What am I even doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I behaving so much? You know. And like that's like I'm going through a period of like flattening these highs and ups and downs, and like I'm kind of flattening it out. And every now and then you see me have those like little mini freakouts of just like, why am I doing all this? What the fuck? I need an outlet. Like, you know, like I need to feel like a bad boy, and I have nothing right now that makes me feel like a bad boy.
Yeah.
Really nothing other than like this belligerent conquest to keep our film career going, which is just insane when you zoom out and think about it. Like, it's so much easier to just like go get a job or work for somebody or whatever. But like, oh, we got to keep coming up with ideas and raising money and then making the thing and putting it out. And sometimes people care, sometimes they don't. But now come up with another idea and raise the money and figure out how to make it and make it good. And some people cared, some people didn't. Now do it again. Like, how many what the hell are we doing? You know, like that's the only thing that kind of makes me feel like a bad boy, I guess, right now. I have a willingness to do stuff. I just haven't done it in a while.
Okay.
Yeah. Patreon.com/Church of Chill. Tons more.
Wait, can I say what I think has made our relationship last?
Yeah. Do you want to say it over on the Patreon?
Well, I feel like I'm teasing out something that's more exciting than it actually is.
Okay.
No, I'll give
Go
it.
for it.
I'll give it out.
Give
for
it
free.
to the people. I don't care. Whatever. We just got to plug for our Patreon in there. It really helps when people sign up for that. It makes us want to keep doing it.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
a great place.
It's incredible. There's so many bonus podcasts.
Great, awesome place. Lots
Yeah.
more podcasts.
Community.
But
Anyway, why do you think?
because I feel like when we went through periods of disconnection, we acknowledged it quickly, early, and we did little things to fix it, like 1-minute hugs.
Yeah.
And I really do like, if I could put one thing as like why we've stayed together, is because we did these 1-minute hugs. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? Like when we were
Yeah.
fading, like, I don't know, like I don't know what we were doing, but it just became like very necessary.
Yeah.
And we just started doing it.
But the 1-minute hug even comes from the energy of having from the beginning gone all in. You know, like, hey, we went all in. Can we make this good again?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
like let's
Like we could break up and both exercise and try to find a new better partner, but like we like the partner we have, so can we just like make this better?
yeah, exactly. And I feel like going all in from day one has really helped sustain us more than most things. But but little things like that have improved the day to day and have gotten us back on track. And like, I don't know, sometimes you don't even realize you've gotten off track.
Yeah.
and like just life gets very loud and very distracting, and you're like, why doesn't this feel right? It's like, oh, because I've strayed from home. Even though we're always around each other, you can still have that feeling of like having strayed, and like, there's been times where I've had to be like this with you, like, come, hey, where are you going? I see you're lost in the sauce. Where are you going? Let's be more present. That's where our salvation lies. We got to be more present. We got to be back in the moment. We have to be able to hear each other. We have to care enough to want to hear each other. And just making all the adjustments around that make this thing kind of fun to keep doing. That's all. Like, if it wasn't fun, we probably both would have run for the hills. That was a prayer we said from early on that we keep repeating. If it's not fun and funny, like, what are we doing? Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are we going to keep having fun and funny times or what?
What time is it?
1:40.
A little bit more fun and funny times. Let's keep it going. All right, we're going to hop over.
I made this so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so beautiful in here. And, we just danced around a lot of stuff, so maybe we could just get a little bit more down and dirty.
Okay.
Over on patreon.com/churchofchill.
Peace, love, and magic.
We'll see you on the other side, y'all.